Hey folks, it's me again. And for once, no, I'm not talking about Cockeygate or, well, Fantasy Coins LLC's products, which I do still enjoy. No, I am here to respond to Bob Chipman, aka Moviebob. And what am I here to respond to him about? Thundercats Roar. Now, Bob, I'm going to say this to you straight up. You're just flat out wrong about this. Thundercats Roar is literally meant to cash in on nostalgia. Specifically, the nostalgia of anybody who grew up with the original show and or the 2011 reboot. Why do I say that? Because who under the age of 7 right now would even know what the Thundercats are? The other thing I'm going to take issue with is the fact that you claimed, oh God, they're taking this seriously in reference to Thundercats 2011 and the, unfair attempts to try to claim it was trying to be Avatar. I'm sorry, no, it wasn't trying to be Avatar. If anything, it was trying to be more Lord of the Rings meets Terminator, or something to similar effect. But then again, this is coming from a man who apparently tried to compare the Transformers cult classic 1986 animated film to feminism. Alright? Whatever feminism may have been when it started out, it has since long become a toxic label to the point that less than 1 in 4 women in the United States and even less in the United Kingdom are willing to identify as such because it has become such a toxic thing. And aside from the fact that I find that extraordinarily offensive and disgusting, that you would try to take something as pretty much, again, toxic, if not outright evil, as feminism is these days, and try to compare it to something that actually brings people a lot of joy in the form of the Transformers. The fact that you would actually say, Jesus Christ, let the kids have their cartoon. Do the kids even want this cartoon? I don't think they do. Because, again, in the world of the internet, everybody has a goddamn cell phone, or a laptop, or a tablet, or a desktop computer, and just about everybody has the ability to access YouTube. And given the like-to-dislike ratio on this thing when it was first announced, I don't think anybody wants this. Nobody wants Thundercats Roar. The thing literally had 1,700 likes and over 29,000 dislikes the last time I heard anything about it. And the problem is, this show is cashing in on nostalgia. It wants to draw in the fans of the original show, and it has failed spectacularly. Because this is clearly meant to be based on the original show. Anybody who's seen the original show is going to look at this, and only a very small number are going to be interested. Alright? Look at it this way. The guy who is the show developer for this said, I grew up with the show, I loved it, my brothers loved it. This is the Thundercats show I wanted. Okay, so it's the show he wanted. Why did you think it was the show anybody else wanted? Because he thinks it's going to suit his own career agenda, or maybe it's a political agenda, I don't know. I'm not even going to watch this disgusting attempt to recreate the Thundercats as a comedy. Alright? The original show, and even the 2011 series, had their moments of levity. They were never intended to be straight-out comedy. Because I think everybody knew that's a bad idea. In fact, let's call it what it is. A horrible idea. Every show that tries to reboot an older premise knows going in that there are going to be old-school fans who are going to be paying attention. This is why we have things like the reboot for He-Man and the Masters of the Universe from the 2000s. Why we're getting the reboot of She-Ra, Princess of Power, on Netflix at some point in the near future. Voltron Legendary Defender. Hell, Voltron the Third Dimension was practically a reboot, even though it was marketed as a series. That was meant to be a sequel to the original Voltron Lion show, and completely discounted the existence of the vehicle team. You're going to say, oh, this is for the kids? Then why is it not a property that's brand new? I mean, surely there must be other ways to attract the attention of kids these days. Clearly, they found that in Teen Titans Go, The Amazing World of Gumball, Gravity Falls, Star vs. the Forces of Evil, and yes, those all apparently are from the supposed CalArts style, to the point where they seem to be virtually interchangeable, and this new series seems to be no different. So again, This show, like any other show, is meant to be able to cash in on the nostalgia of the old fans because they believe that the old fans will bring new fans. Now, the problem with the original Thundercats reboot, the one from 2011, was twofold. One, they basically did not allow it to have time to really get its traction. I watched the series pretty much right up until the last 4 episodes, and the only reason I wasn't able to see those was because they changed the day and the time, and I never found out about it until it was too late. I had to watch it on DVD. Then, when they brought it back on Toonami, they literally stuck it at 4 in the morning, if not 4:30, at a time, basically, when everybody, but everybody, has pretty much gone to bed, except for maybe 50 people who might be watching that late at night, or are just getting up. If they had aired this thing and really stuck to it, it would have gained traction, because clearly there was enough interest that people still remember it to this day, even 7 years later. Then, you've got the other problem. Again, and I mentioned this already, nostalgia is what fuels these reboots. If you are not going to try to appeal to the fans of a pre-existing franchise in the hopes of getting new viewers who will probably learn of that new show through older fans of the pre-existing franchise, again, what's the point of doing it? There is none. When you have stuff like Beast Wars, that was definitively intended to cash in on the interest of the old school fans, and it worked. Transformers Armada, it worked. Hell, Beast Machines worked, even if you didn't like it. It was a direct sequel to Beast Wars. But again, Armada worked. Cybertron worked. You know, all of this. Even Transformers Energon. And yes, I know I'm putting those out of order. But yes, Armada, Energon, Cybertron. Then you have Transformers Animated. Then you have Transformers Prime, which brought people back in droves, to the point that everybody came back. And part of that, what brought him back, was Peter Cullen and Frank Welker coming back as Optimus Prime and Megatron, respectively. Because that brought back an incredible amount of the old school fans. This is, ironically enough, part of what brought fans in to see the Michael Bay films, was the nostalgia factor. Yes, there were casual viewers who were going to go see it in the theaters. But you know what they were banking on? The goodwill and nostalgia of the old school fans, particularly old school fans of Optimus Prime. That's why they brought Peter Cullen back to play Optimus, and why he has been there consistently since the first Michael Bay film. So seriously, Bob, you're wrong. Get over it. The whole reason for Thundercats Roar is they want to try to draw in old fans. They have failed spectacularly. All right? Oh, and by the way, I don't want to hear you, of all people, saying, oh, how dare you actually be upset about something in animation when you haven't picked up a newspaper, okay? All right, we get it. You've pretty much infused every single one of your videos with your goddamn politics, all right? I've been a lifelong Democrat. I am utterly disgusted with my own party these days, but I'm a Democrat because I hope and pray to God that at some point the party is going to fucking correct its ship. All right? They screwed over Bernie Sanders, and unfortunately, we ended up with 2 absolutely disgusting candidates. Look at it this way. At least getting upset about a cartoon is getting upset about something that everybody can have an opinion on, because there's no real politics that should be involved. You know why people are upset with a lot of the material these days that's out there? Cartoons, comics, novels, and yes, video games and cartoons, is because idiots keep insisting on putting their fucking politics into it instead of giving us good stories. And you know what the problem is with your phrase there? Oh, well, abstract figures are in, actual human art is out, and that there's supposedly a socio-political reason for that? You want to know what that socio-political reason is? You got people who think that goddamn shows that were originally intended for kids but now have the capacity to entertain people of all ages has to be politically involved, otherwise it somehow failed itself. All right, so give me a break, Bob. Stop applying politics to everything. Stop trying to assume that everything has to be about politics or some kind of social agenda. Sometimes we just want a goddamn good story, and if that means we have to look to the 80s and the fucking early 90s for a good story, well, that's a problem. All right? If we have to look for good art and only can look at stuff from the 80s to see halfway decent art, that's a problem. This is why I love anime. It gives me stuff that challenges me. It gives me stuff I can enjoy. It gives me stuff that has no politics involved. And guess what? People love it. You know why? They don't have to worry about their goddamn real-world politics being insinuated into something that should be meant to entertain them. Yes, I went a little off on a tangent here. I don't care. Once again, Bob, you are wrong about Thundercats Roar. And again, I'm going to say this because I have to say it. I am still disgusted with the fact that you would try to equate the Transformers the movie from 1986 with something as toxic as modern-day feminism. So, for all of you out there who are upset with Thundercats Roar, you have every right to be upset. Alright? Your feelings on this are valid because you're the people that they're actually trying to get to come watch this. Okay? Unlike what Bob thinks, you guys are the target audience. The kids are just there for the shiny things and potentially to try to get them to buy a couple of toys before they're distracted by the next shiny thing to come down the pike. You guys are the ones that are hoping we'll actually make this run. And you know what? Sometimes it works. And sometimes it gets an audience it never intended. Look at My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, for God's sake. Everybody ignored the original show unless, you were of a very, very small, demographic. And then, even then, most of the shows back then never got that much of a run. The longest running Hasbro show for the longest time was the original Transformers. Right now, you know what the longest running Hasbro property right now in animation is? My Little Pony. Whether or not it's going to continue that success when and if they ever get to the Generation 5 cartoon series that I keep hearing is rumored, don't know. But again, nostalgia is the key. Transformers, G.I. Joe, Thundercats, My Little Pony. Anything that can be considered to be based out of 80s nostalgia, it's friggin' here, and it's aimed at anybody and everybody who would know and recognize that. Yes, they're going to try to get new viewers, but they want to get those new viewers by having the old viewers attract them. Deal with it. You're wrong, Bob. But then again, you've been wrong about a lot in the last few years. And I used to like your work, but then it became way too politically charged, and you just let it insinuate itself into everything. Goodbye.